You just landed the promotion. You just hit 1 million views. You just received the highest praise from the person you admire most. But instead of popping the champagne, your heart is racing for all the wrong reasons. You're looking over your shoulder, waiting for the moment the competence police burst through the door, put you in handcuffs, and tell the whole world that you're nothing but a lucky liar. You're convinced that every achievement you've ever had was a fluke, a mistake, or the result of you being a world-class manipulator who happened to be in the right place at the right time. If this sounds like the script of your life, then welcome to the club. You are experiencing imposter syndrome, the psychological phenomenon that haunts the most successful people on the planet. Today, we aren't just going to talk about what it is, we are going to dismantle it piece by piece and give you the cognitive tools to finally own your seat at the table. Because here's the cold, hard truth. The fact that you feel like a fraud is actually the ultimate proof that you aren't one. Stick with me until the end, and I'll show you why your brain is lying to you and how to flip the script on your deepest insecurities. Did you know that an estimated 70% of people will experience at least one episode of imposter syndrome in their lives? We're talking about Academy Award winners, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and world-renowned scientists. Maya Angelou once said, "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out." Even Tom Hanks admitted that no matter how much success he has, he still wakes up wondering when people will realize he's just a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. If people of that caliber feel this way, why do we think we're immune? Why do we let this feeling paralyze us? To beat the enemy, we have to identify it. Dr. Valerie Young, the leading expert on this subject, discovered that imposter syndrome isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. It manifests in 5 distinct subtypes. Understanding which one you fall into is the first step toward breaking the cycle.
First, there's the perfectionist. This is the person who sets excessively high goals for themselves, and when they fail to reach a goal, they experience major self-doubt and worry about measuring up. Even if they succeed, they rarely feel like they've done a good enough job. For the perfectionist, 99% is a failure. They obsess over the 1% they got wrong instead of the 99% they got right. If you've ever stayed up until 3 a.m. rereading an email you already sent, looking for a typo that isn't there, you might be a perfectionist. Second, we have the superhuman. This person feels like a phony among their professional colleagues, so they push themselves to work harder and harder to measure up. They stay the latest at the office, they take on every project, and they sacrifice their personal life just to prove they aren't a fraud. But this is a hollow victory, because the more they work, the more they feel they have to keep up the act. It's a fast track to burnout. Third is the natural genius. For this person, if something doesn't come easily or quickly on the first try, their internal alarm bells go off. They believe that if they were actually smart or talented, they wouldn't have to struggle to master a new skill. When they face a setback, their confidence shatters. They equate effort with a lack of ability, which is a dangerous trap in a world where everything worth doing takes time. Fourth, there's the soloist. This is the "I can do it all by myself" person. To them, asking for help is a sign of weakness and a clear admission that they are a fraud. If they can't achieve the result entirely on their own, they feel like they don't deserve the credit. They carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, terrified that if they let anyone in, the facade will crumble. Finally, we have the expert. These are the people who feel like they need to know every single piece of information before they can speak up or start a project. They are constantly seeking out more certifications, more degrees, and more training because they never feel qualified enough. Even when they are the most knowledgeable person in the room, they are terrified of being asked a question they don't know the answer to, because to them, not knowing everything means knowing nothing.
Do you recognize yourself in any of these? Maybe you're a mix of 2 or 3. The reason identifying these archetypes is so powerful is that it moves the problem from "I am a fraud" to "I have a specific pattern of thinking that is distorted." It's not an identity. It's a glitch in your software. But why does this glitch exist in the first place? Why is your brain, the most complex machine in the known universe, working against you? To understand that, we have to look at the neuroscience. Our brains are hardwired for survival, not for happiness. In our evolutionary past, being found out as incompetent by our tribe was a death sentence. If the tribe thought you couldn't pull your weight, you were cast out, and being alone meant being lunch for a saber-toothed tiger. This created a phenomenon called the spotlight effect. We believe that everyone is watching us, judging us, and waiting for us to slip up. In reality, everyone else is too busy worrying about their own imposter feelings to notice yours. Then there's the negativity bias. Our brains are like Velcro for bad news and Teflon for good news. We discount our successes as luck or timing, but we cling to our failures as proof of our inadequacy. This is compounded by what psychologists call attribution error. When we succeed, we attribute it to external factors. The team was great, the weather was nice, the stars aligned. But when we fail, we attribute it to internal factors. I'm stupid, I'm lazy, I'm not cut out for this. It's a rigged game. And let's be honest about the world we live in today. We are the first generation to grow up in the comparison economy. Every time you open Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn, you are bombarded with everyone else's highlight reel. You see their promotions, their perfect vacations, their hustle culture wins, and their flawless aesthetics. But you are comparing your behind-the-scenes footage with their greatest hits. You know your struggles, your messy mornings, and your insecurities, but you only see their filtered success. This creates a massive gap between our internal reality and the external perception of others, making us feel like we're the only ones who don't have it all figured out.
This feeling is particularly intense for Gen Z and millennials. We live in an era of personal branding and AI-driven competition. There is a constant pressure to be a thought leader or an influencer in our respective niches. The fear of being checked for credentials is at an all-time high. We're terrified that in an age of instant information, our lack of depth will be exposed by a simple Google search. But here is the paradox. Imposter syndrome usually strikes when you are growing. It hits when you're stepping out of your comfort zone and into a new level of competence. If you were truly incompetent, you wouldn't have the self-awareness to worry about being a fraud. Dunning-Kruger effect teaches us that truly incompetent people are usually the most confident because they don't know enough to realize what they're missing. The very fact that you are doubting yourself is a signal that you are skilled, aware, and evolving. So how do we stop the bleeding? How do we take these feelings of inadequacy and turn them into a fuel for growth? It starts with a radical shift in perspective. We need to move from feeling to fact. The first technique I want you to use is called fact over feeling. When the voice in your head says, "I don't belong here," I want you to physically stop and ask, what is the evidence for this thought? Don't answer with feelings, answer with data. Look at your track record. Look at the feedback you've received. Look at the problems you solved. Your feelings are not facts. They are just chemical signals sent by a scared amygdala trying to protect you from a perceived social threat. When you separate your identity from your emotions, the emotions lose their power over you. The second strategy is what I call the inventory of evidence. Most of us have a failure folder in our brains that we update daily, but our win folder is empty. I want you to start a to-do list instead of just a to-do list. At the end of every week, write down 3 things you accomplished that required skill, persistence, or courage. When the imposter feelings hit on Monday morning, pull out that list. It's hard to argue with a physical list of achievements sitting right in front of you.
The third technique is reframing anxiety as excitement. Biologically, the physical sensations of anxiety and excitement are almost identical. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your breathing gets shallow. The only difference is the label your brain puts on it. Harvard researcher Alison Wood Brooks found that people who said, "I am excited" before a stressful task performed significantly better than those who said, "I am calm." When you feel that imposter flutter in your chest, don't say, "I'm scared I'll be caught." Say, "My body is getting ready for a high-stakes performance." You aren't a fraud. You're an athlete in the arena. Fourth, you have to share the secret. Imposter syndrome thrives in isolation. It's a fungus that grows in the dark. The moment you speak it out loud to a trusted mentor, a friend, or a colleague, it loses its grip. You'll be shocked at how often the person you look up to will respond with, "Me too, felt that exact same way this morning. When we realize that everyone is just faking it till they make it to some degree, the pressure to be perfect vanishes. Vulnerability isn't a liability, it's a superpower that builds authentic connection. Before we move on, if this is resonating with you, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that this kind of deep dive psychological content matters, and it helps us reach more people who are struggling with these same silent battles. And if you've ever felt like a fraud, drop a comment below with the phrase "work in progress." Let's turn this comment section into a space where we admit that none of us have all the answers, and that's perfectly okay. Now, let's talk about the 5-second rule and box breathing. These are your emergency break glass in case of panic tools. When you're about to walk into a meeting or hit publish on a big project and the imposter voice starts screaming, use the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins. Count backward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This simple act shifts your brain from the emotional hindbrain to the logical prefrontal cortex. It interrupts the runaway train of self-doubt. Follow that with box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. This physically hacks your nervous system, forcing it out of fight or flight mode and back into a state of rest and digest. You cannot think clearly when your body thinks it's being hunted.
But let's go even deeper. Let's talk about the hustle culture trap that is so prevalent in the US and global markets. We are told that we need to be grinding 24/7. This creates a performance-based identity. If our worth is tied to our last win, then we will always be one mistake away from worthlessness. To kill the imposter, you have to decouple your human value from your professional output. You are not your job title. You are not your bank account. You are not your follower count. You are a human being with an inherent right to occupy space, regardless of your utility on a given day. When you realize that you are enough simply because you exist, the fraud narrative starts to look ridiculous. How can you be a fraud at being yourself? There's also a cultural element we need to address. For many women, people of color, and individuals from marginalized backgrounds, imposter syndrome isn't just an internal psychological glitch, it's a response to an external environment that wasn't built for them. When you are the only one in the room who looks like you, it's natural to feel like an outsider. In these cases, it's not that you're an imposter, it's that you're a pioneer. You are breaking ground in a space that hasn't caught up to your talent yet. Don't let a lack of representation make you doubt your invitation. You weren't invited by mistake. You were invited because you earned it, often by working twice as hard as everyone else. As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a different way to look at this whole phenomenon. What if imposter syndrome never actually goes away? What if the goal isn't to kill it, but to change your relationship with it? Think of imposter syndrome as a growth barometer. If you never feel like an imposter, it probably means you're playing it too safe. It means you're staying in your comfort zone where everything is predictable and easy. The feeling of being out of your depth is the feeling of expansion. It's the sensation of your competence muscles being stretched to their limit. Every time you level up in life, the imposter will be there at the door to greet you. It's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're doing something big.
When you feel that familiar pang of, "I don't belong here," I want you to smile. I want you to say, there you are again. That means I'm exactly where I need to be." Treat the imposter like a nervous friend who's just trying to keep you safe. Thank it for its concern. Tell it you've got this, and then walk into that room anyway. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who don't have fear. They're the ones who have developed a higher tolerance for discomfort. They have realized that the perfect time to feel ready will never come. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for action. It's a byproduct of action. You don't build confidence by thinking yourself into it. You build it by doing the thing you're afraid of and realizing you survived. You have spent years building your skills, your character, and your resilience. You have overcome obstacles that would have broken other people. You have learned, adapted, and grown. Don't let a fleeting emotion rob you of the credit for all that hard work. You are not a fraud. You are a work in progress, just like everyone else. The difference is, you're brave enough to keep going even when you're scared. So, the next time that voice whispers that you're not enough, remember, a real imposter doesn't care about doing a good job.
They only care about not getting caught. The fact that you care so much about your work, the fact that you want to be worthy of your position, is the ultimate proof that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Stop waiting for permission to feel successful. Stop waiting for a certificate that says you finally made it. You made it the moment you decided to show up despite the doubt. You are the author of your story, and the fraud chapter is over. It's time to start the mastery chapter. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video helped you see yourself in a clearer light, please share it with one person who needs to hear this today. We all need a reminder that we're doing better than we think. And if you want to dive deeper into the psychology of success and mindset, check out our next video right here. Keep growing, keep showing up, and remember, you are not an imposter. You are an original. See you in the next one.